This is the Cat123 race down at the Bud Harris track. We typically refer to it as the Oval, and today we're doing the Bullet course. I'm gonna throw this one out there real quick as you're watching my numbers. If you want to judge me based on what my power numbers were for this race, that's fine. I don't mind. But if you're using my power numbers as a frame of reference for what you could possibly do, or for when you want to come down here and do these races, I want to let you know that my wife was complaining about her pedals being really hard to clip in and out of, and yeah, I figured I would take them for a few rides and break them in if I could. And I used them today and I was having some serious connectivity issues. I would say for a majority of the race and a majority of what we did, they were accurate, but I would say the overall numbers might not be. I don't really have a great explanation for that. So they are what they are. I hope they still help. I hope all the other data still helps. I'd tell you, for the average heart rate I had for this race, my power would normally be, and this is just like the regular power, not the normalized, my regular would be somewhere around 270 to 300, depending on what kind of day I'm having, how fatigued I am. And the normalized would be well over 3. As you saw, it just completely didn't even count that first quarter mile. So I did notice it going in and out throughout the race. So sorry about that. I apologize. I think I'm just gonna go back to making sure I'm using my pedals at races and not anybody else's. And as you can see, we're 2 laps in. So I approached my friend Robin earlier, who's doing the scoring, to let her know I was going for a PR today. Everything that hasn't been the Oval, as far as like the chicane, the P course, the Bullet course, with the Cat123 guys, my longest with the front peloton was 5 laps. And that was with the P course. That would be the one that you would think would be the hardest. I actually struggled the most, I think, with the Bullet course. I think the P course, we're all kind of in the same boat there on the bottom side of the P, and that makes it a little better. I'm not really sure. But this turn right here, man, if you watch my power numbers, which I hope are accurate, every time I come out of that turn, I was trying to work on staying directly on somebody's wheel in and out of that turn. Kind of, had to ignore self-preservation quite a bit, because it does seem like the guys are slowing down as they're taking the turn, and they're not. So it makes you want to tap the brakes, and if you do, you're going to create a gap. So I'm trying my best not to tap my brakes, but I also try to do a little bit better about my cornering as a whole. I was trying to do a little bit better about pedaling through the corners. And you see, every time we get up to speed on this straightaway here, everybody does stop pedaling to take this turn. So you kind of had to do that, and then you had to pedal through here. But the amount of power it took to stay with what they're doing was 400, 500, 600 watts while you're cornering, just to stay with the wheel. And then the same thing, another 500 or 600 watts to stay on the wheel up through the crest of this little mound right here. I was finding it to be doable. I'm not letting that gap open up like I did last time I did the Bullet course, and I think I only lasted 3 laps last time I did the Bullet course. It was brutal. I did try it on a different bike with a tire setup that maybe wasn't real bright. It is what it is. You live, you learn. But yeah, I told Robin. Well, actually, she shooed me away. I understand those. God, they're so busy up there, and I really do appreciate what they do. I can't say that enough. I will tell you, these little gaps right here that open up occasionally. When you're crit racing, you're always having to pay attention. It's almost like driving in the snow, or just probably one of the most difficult things you have to do, because if you're not on point, you'll crash. I noticed that some of these guys, and I don't know if any of them had done Saturday or Sunday's races, but the Visit Pittsburgh team went down to the Pro Cup down in DC, and God, the one race had to have been, they were both over 2 hours long if I'm not mistaken, and these guys averaged on what would look like a tricky course on a map, 28 mile an hour plus for 40 miles, 60 miles. Man, I'm struggling to stay focused here. We're 4 minutes into this race, I think, maybe 5. And that gap that opened up really just was because I wanted in my head to be somewhere else, because in my body I was suffering, and you can't do it. You have to stay completely focused and on point. And I let that happen a few times during the race, and I do wonder, what if had I paid attention, had I no, I guess if I had better fitness, that'd be cool too. But like, when you're watching this turn, you got to make sure you don't overlap wheels. And when you go through this turn again, you have to make sure you don't overlap wheels and you hold your line to a T, because, I'm staying in the back just to be, where I should be really, actually. But also so I don't have to take the turns with anybody else. These guys are all really trustworthy to take turns with. I shouldn't be so cautious about it. And I'm going to have to take turns here in turns with people soon. Grandview, it's a 4-corner crit in about a week and a half, and you're taking those turns with a rider under you and over you almost every time if you want to hang in the peloton. And you kind of have to. When you're in the back and you get that tail whip effect, you really get into some high watts if you're not in the draft. And even if you are in the draft, like I said, the guys that are already through this turn are pedaling again, and I'm not. So to regain my momentum and be at the same pace as them, I have to hit higher watts. The benefit is I don't need any watts at all once we level off, where they'll still keep pushing. So it's a lot smoother in the front. Even if it's the same power, even if it's more power in the front, it's smoother up there than it is in the rear. The best way to negate that, or the best way to not light as many matches, would be to tuck yourself into the best amount of draft as you can. And to do that, you have to go through these turns 2, 3, 4 riders deep. I don't know how long it takes to get used to that, because I've been doing this for about 6 years now, and I'm still not used to it. Like right now, I should actually be working my way upwards to get closer to the rider in front of me, and you see the rider behind me decides to make that choice. He's like, I'm going to come around and get more in the draft. And so I take it on the underside, and I'm kind of out of the draft here for a second, and then I'm back in the watts again as they go around me. And they came through the corner with more speed, more watts. I had to go almost to 1,000 watts and I'm still not like fully on a wheel yet. I'm about to be. Every time that I did that, every time that happened was a match. And after doing this bullet course with them so many times, after doing the P course so many times, I feel like I am starting to get more matches in the match book. But it's still not enough. And thankfully, I get to do this race every week, or can do it. It's down there, and I want as many people to come to this venue as possible, because if this race goes away, where I live, we have nothing, like absolutely nothing. And I can tell you, driving 3 to 4 hours every weekend to find a race gets exhausting. Finding hotels, traveling with the kids at times. It's not easy, so you definitely don't want to lose something. Like, even, I got a lot of friends that find the hour 15 drive from here to Pittsburgh to be exhausting, and I don't know how many of these guys would do a race in Youngstown if Youngstown was every week. Would they come up and drive an hour every week to do it? And here I am wishing people would. Here I am, thankful for this event, because it's so much closer and so much more regular than anything else we have. Columbus is like the next best we get. A lot of Ohio's races are held closer to Cincinnati. Cleveland gets 1 or 2 races maybe a year. So, I'm really glad for this opportunity. I'm really glad that they let us stay on the course after we're lapped too. I've traveled 4 or more hours for like a Hyde Park or something, where I was 8 seconds behind a peloton. This is back in like Cat 4 or 5 days where like I didn't really know what I was doing. I still really don't know what I'm doing, but I'm learning, you know. Me and a teammate had fallen off the back, and you know, I was exhausted. He was exhausted. It was a really hot day, and a couple other riders had fallen off. And after I started taking the turns by myself, I was starting to feel better and smoother power. And we'd fallen off, and they let us stay out there for a few laps, and we started gaining on the peloton. As we gained on them, we closed what was like a 30-second gap down to 8, and that's when they decided to pull us. And that really sucked because the Cat 4-5 race is already short. We weren't lapped. We were gaining, and yeah, we drove 4 hours to race for 10 minutes, you know, 20 minutes, whatever it was. That sucks, and you don't learn anything from that. You learn to try harder next time, and maybe you can last a few more laps. So to have this down here where they'll let us fall off, they'll let us get lapped, and like as somebody who stayed on the whole time, you really don't want lapped riders in the way. So you know, at this venue, they will pull you if you become an unsafe speed, if you look like you're phoning it in, you're not trying anymore. But they will let you get back on the back until towards the end of the race too. So you can continue to simulate race experience, and that's what I've been doing. You know, like as I've been lapped on the Bullet course and as I've been lapped on the P course, I've gone back on the back and lasted again as many laps as I could. And my record up until today was, you know, 5 from the get-go, and then like maybe 10 laps was my best after being lapped. So because I got to do that, because, you know, they run this race in a way that promotes cycling instead of like inhibits it, I'm now lasting a lot longer in this race. And again, my watts are down, so you would think to yourself like, oh well, I mean, that's why you lasted the race. You're racing smarter, you're in the peloton, you're staying on a wheel, you're taking the turns better. Those are all true, and those would lower my power numbers. I wouldn't be at the 270, 280, the normalized 310, 315 like I normally am at a race like this. But at the same time, like, my heart rate's been pretty steady in the low 160s, which means I'm putting in almost a time trial effort here. So my legs are feeling it a lot more than what the screen's showing. And I'm giving it what I have. For my heart rate to constantly be in the 160s, that means I'm trying. I didn't just give up. I'm near the brink, and one mistake probably cost me, you know. But I know that I can hold it there, and I know I can hold it there for the whole race because I've been allowed to. Even after I've been lapped, even after I've been dropped, I've been allowed to. So I was really happy with today. I wasn't really watching the lap counters were going by. And you could see, like, these guys in the front, they haven't stopped attacking. They just go over and over and over again. And again, I don't know how many of these guys from Visit Pittsburgh did the Pro-Am Cup on Saturday and Sunday and then came back down to race Tuesday. To me, it's okay, so we're 14 laps in now. For me, it's like, I would love to be able to do that. Yeah, I mean, did I race on Saturday? Sure. Am I back at it Tuesday? Sure. But I didn't compete. I tried, but like, they were racing against pros, you know. I was racing against mostly Cat 3 riders. 1, 2, 3 allows for as many 3s to sign up as you can, and you know, there's a small showing of Cat 1 riders at that race Saturday and a big showing of Cat 3, and these guys were racing against pros, you know, and a much higher rate of speed. I would like to do the course because, again, on the map it looked super challenging. And if it was super challenging in real life, which I've been to DC, those are big wide roads. If they shut down the whole thing, there was at least room to take the turns with other riders. But there's also room to take riders here, take turns with other riders here, and I still don't. So I got myself in a little bit of trouble right here. Thankfully, the peloton had sat up. That's one of the things that you'll notice too, is when it gets really strung out and it gets into a straight line, it's actually really hard. You'll notice that my watts are much higher when it's in a straight line, where right now I'm not even pedaling because they kind of bulked up. But when they bulk up like this, it's somebody else's turn to go. I've said this before in races where I can compete. There's no sitting up. and that's their mentality too. But this is more their race than it is mine. This is, I can't thank the Cat 1 riders enough in this field. I can't thank the Pro-Am guys more, because like without them, what does this race average? Without them going and racing around the country, especially on the East Coast, and racing against pros, like I want to say the average right now is close to 28 mile an hour, and without that, what is it? Maybe 26 or so. Then maybe I do compete, and I would love that, but I would also hate that. I would hate to, I'd hate to not improve, because I'd hate to ever go to Momentum in Indy or the DC Cup or something like that. And like I said, like with 4 hours of travel and you get pulled after 20 minutes, like that was a bummer, That was a big bummer. I can only imagine driving 6 hours or 8 hours and getting pulled after the second lap. You're 5 minutes into a race and that was it. That's your race. I've had friends last 8 minutes, and I can assure you they weren't thrilled with it, So these guys going and doing these races and getting insanely strong, and then coming down here and doing this to us, like it just makes us better. It's making me better, and I love it. I would actually prefer it this way. I prefer it be this hard. Max it out. I love the option because I'm old, so I get to ride with the masters who are also insanely strong. One of them, there's a guy here older than me. Not to say there's not a bunch of guys here older than me, but there's a guy here older than me that he's one of those top guys in that Cat 1 team, and it gives me hope that like at 42 it's not all said and done. But at the same time, like the Masters isn't actually all that easy either. I actually find it to be extremely difficult so far this season. I've not had any luck in any races. I've mentioned teams quite a bit too. I'm racing for Mahoning Valley Cycling again this year. We broke away from UPMC, and we had a lot of success last year for UPMC. Having those two teams merged together was a great deal of fun, and that was I almost want to consider last year like one of the funnest seasons in cycling I've ever had. But I could tell you, like, in this field on this race, no matter how strong my teammates are, no matter how good they are at racing, I would be almost no help to them, and them being there would be almost no benefit to me, because I'm racing at the back and I'm hanging on as long as I can. As somebody who races, I do look at this peloton when it gets blobbed up like this and nobody's attacking. I do think to myself, this is when it's time to go. But I also know if I was to do that, that would be my last lap. So if I did have a teammate or two here and they needed that from me, they needed one match one time, if I'm still in the race, I could still light it. Once I'm not in the race no more, that's it. So there's been some races this season I would love to have had teammates. I think it would have been a huge difference. Hopefully I get to do some with them. But some of these races, like this one, it wouldn't help me any. It wouldn't help me any at all. But it's good. I don't know that I grew in different ways last year as a cyclist. But part of the reason I got to Cat 1, I would say most of the reason really why I got to Cat 1 is because I raced with the team and with the team strategy, and that strategy at some races really benefited me. This year, I'm not placing well at all. I got one race at smaller venue, second place, and aside from that, if I've been in the top 10, it was literally 10th. Most of my season has been but I avoided these races last year. I avoided the pros, I avoided the Cat 1 guys, I avoided the hard courses, because I really did want to save myself for the races we were all doing well at. This year, without any of the help, without the big team, might as well just do everything I can, the hardest races I can, and try to grow from there, I guess. I know my teammates are still putting in their work. I know that they'll come back to racing when, you know, when it works out for them. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm not, you know, fishing for a new team. You see my live track quit tracking right there too. I don't know what was going on. I would say every time I go past that start finish line, I think that these pedals were also connected to my wife's computer, or my pedals were still connected to my computer, both of which were at the start finish line, her computer and my pedals. And I think that that's where there was some interference coming in. Again, not making a watt excuse. You can make of that what you want. If you want to make fun of me for being dropped or riding the back of 250 watts and sucking wind, that, you know, like, cool. Give you a reason to talk to me, I guess, is to make fun of me. But if you're doing this, if you're watching these numbers for your own purposes and you have a pretty good idea of the comparison between you and I, or you run the same pedals, just know that these were glitching quite a bit, and it was my own fault because I was trying to break them in for my wife, and maybe I should just do that from now on like my own rides, and maybe not at a race where all of our other equipment is right there and going by every minute. Because came up with some unusable data for my own purposes, really. Again, it's still in the corner. The speed's still right, the heart rate's still right, everything else is still right. Everything's right except for what I'm doing right now. I let those wheels go. I think, where are we at? That'd be the one. So that's a new PR for me. I was really stoked about this. Of course, I was almost blacking out, so I thought I'd made it 15 laps. 15 laps would have tripled my previous output, and it was 5 more laps than the most I've made it even after I was lapped. So I speed this up 150% because this is already a short race, but there wasn't really a whole lot to watch. The strategy here was survival, so I sped it up. I did get lapped pretty quick. It's a very short course. It's only 0.4 of a mile. And to take 290s in a 0.4 mile is an aggressive course. It doesn't leave you a lot of room for error or drafting, and I made an error. I do remember right before that happened, I started thinking to myself, man, we're almost halfway through this race, and the second half is normally easier than the first half. I started wondering myself, can I still place? Can I get in the top 10? Can I move past anybody in this peloton without making it dangerous in a turn, or do I have enough power in the tank to get up there and still do something with it when it's strung out? Those were thoughts that were running through my head because I hadn't previously considered actually making it to the start and the beginning of the race on the lead lap. You know, that hadn't even crossed my mind. And I think as soon as I was thinking that, I might have let a wheel go. And you know, again, that's my own fault because, like I said, attentiveness, in a crate you have to be 100% attentive at all times. There's no relaxing, and I might have relaxed there. There's also a really good chance I just wasn't strong enough anymore. I mean, that's always a possibility, but I do remember looking up and there was a gap, and I thought to myself, oh shit, why did I let that happen? When did that happen? Why did I let that happen? What am I doing? And I wasn't paying attention. I don't know how much longer I really could have made it had I been paying attention, and I'm still not 100% sure that I was actually in daydream mode when that happened. I could have been past the daydream. Again, I thought I only made it with them for 15 laps, so yesterday was blurry. Yesterday was blurry for a lot of reasons, and I know I don't remember it accurately, but it was nice. It was really nice to last almost half the race with the guys, and it was really nice to even envision for even a minute what I could have done at the end of the race if I made it there, because up until that point I hadn't let that thought filter into my mind. There was no reason to. Remember, it's like a kid, you picture yourself like throwing that last minute touchdown in the Super Bowl or making the buzzer beater in the NBA Finals, like those things that you picture in your head as a kid that are just, you know, never gonna come true. Let's be real. That's cycling for me. That's like you know, you kind of just hope and envision that like something like that can happen. All right, so the breakaway here, and there was several breakaways, but they kept getting ran down. I did slow this back down when the peloton catches me. Thankfully, they didn't catch me in the turns. Again, J-Mac had said, you know, if you're not out there working, he's pulling you, and I did want to stay working. I didn't want to get pulled. So I did what I could to keep up my race speed without blowing myself up until we got through the turns. I didn't want to be in the way on the turns. And then I jumped back on the back of the peloton as soon as they go by me. I'm already trying to build back up speed so I can match theirs. I took it out of 150% back down to 100, just a normal speed. But yeah, those daydreams we had as kids are kind of those daydreams I have now about cycling. And again, I wasn't letting myself picture what competing in a race like this would be like, because I just knew it wasn't reality. And you know, about halfway into the race, I thought to myself, maybe it is. It wasn't. It wasn't, and it wasn't like within seconds. But it was fun. It was fun to think about it, and it was really nice to last that long. I was really happy with 24 laps. Now I have a much bigger goal to shoot for, because if you can make it 24 and you want to beat that, beating that pretty much does get you to the end of the race. I would assume somewhere in the near future, and I wasn't sure it would even happen this season, I'll be honest with you. I had an outside goal this year of maybe doing a major circuit race, and I haven't let that go yet. But it was a really outside goal. It was like, if everything goes well, maybe I can show up to one of those and not get ejected after 5 to 8 minutes. I probably will. I know that now for sure, but I still might do one just to get it done. But the goal is starting to look towards next year, because I was hoping by the end of this year I stopped getting dropped at even local races, and I really don't care if these are the strongest guys in the world. I don't care if these guys all go on to the Tour de France. These are still the local races. These are still the race I do every week. So if they're the strongest guys in the world, I just have to learn how to be the strongest drafter in the world. That's just how it works. When I stop getting dropped at local races, I think that's when I do try some of the races that these guys are going to. I'll follow their schedule and go to the ones that I know that they'll be showing up in big numbers, and hopefully create some decent content for my channel next year. But for this year, it's this, and this gave me hope that I can make it to the end of a race by the end of the season. I'm actually starting to think that that'll be coming up soon. I hope. I hope. It gave me hope, because getting dropped 3 to 5 laps in gives you absolutely no hope. And again, like, if I didn't have the availability to draft the peloton a second time after I'm lapped, if I just got pulled as soon as I was dropped, I wouldn't be building any race fitness. I could still work on my own and build like personal fitness and group ride fitness, but race fitness, you're only going to get that from racing, and you don't get that when you get pulled. So I'm really grateful that our local races let us race, and I really encourage anybody who's newer to this. I really do encourage you, come down and do this, because there are beginner level races. There's the men's Cat 4-5. There is the women's 4-5 mixed with non-binary. I'm still kind of confused what that category is, but it seems like the venue is using that as if you're like just really new, this is the race for you, because the men's 4-5 is still pretty fast. They don't do the P course. I'm not sure if they do the Bullet or the Chicane. They do the Oval more often than anybody else. I think that they save the really tricky courses and the constant change of courses really for the A and B races, the Cat123 and the Cat 3-4. I think the Masters and the women's stick to a little bit different of a schedule. So if you're racing one of the beginners races, you are much more likely to get an oval if you come down. But the race, we're averaging 27. You're not going to average 27 in the C race. So if you want to come down and you're new, not only do they strongly encourage it, not only are they trying to grow their brand and their sport, it's a really good course for it. And you don't have to worry about what you're watching me do being what you do. You don't have to do this, not until you get better at it, at least. Anybody who's been racing, I still strongly encourage it. if it's hard, it just means you're gonna get better. You know, it gives you a new ceiling. So I keep working towards it. I gotta be honest, I didn't really feel like coming down today. I didn't. And it was actually my friend Mike that kind of peer pressured me into it, because he had signed up for a different race, and he said he was racing. He didn't even ask. He didn't say, I'll race if you race. No, he just said he was racing. And at that point, I kind of felt like, well, I introduced him to it, and racing's like the thing I'm doing, so like I kind of have to. I felt the peer pressure, and he didn't tell me I had to in any way, shape, or form. He's such a good dude. But I love his enthusiasm. I love that he's coming out racing, and he'll probably be one of the first ones to tell you if he can come down and do it, so can you. We are getting towards the end of this video. I'm probably just going to check out a few minutes early, because there wasn't a whole lot of anything for me to talk on. I know I just rambled for half an hour, so half an hour for me is nothing. You've probably watched enough of my videos now to know that. But for the next like 6 minutes, I stay on for a little bit. I eventually get dropped again. I don't think it was because I wasn't paying attention this time. I just think it's fitness. 99.9% sure it was just fitness. And with about 7 to go, I get pulled, so I actually get to watch the end of the race instead of, whatever, but I don't catch it on video. So if you're hoping to watch yourself sprint to the win or whatever, or see how you did, I didn't catch it on video. I'll just let you know now. The rest of the video is just me hanging on until I can't anymore and getting pulled with about 7 to go. Like I said, I was really happy with this race. I'd say I was happy with the numbers. I was happy to hold a heart rate like that for the whole race. I never really got into a recovery heart rate, and that gives me confidence that I'm not going to die if I don't get to recover. So that's a big one, and that's where summer fitness comes in. You start to get in your summer fitness. So thanks for watching. I enjoyed today's race. I hope you did too. I hope you got to see yourself in these turns. Hope you get to see your placement and stuff. And see you guys soon. See you guys this weekend for the Ohio State Masters and Juniors Championship at Schoolyard Rumble, and maybe an orbital race on Sunday. Catch you later.